Let's see. We is up. All right, I'm going to my page real quick because I have not been sharing it to my page. So I'm just going to go straight to Freethinkers and share it. We are at 8:04. So I said I'd go live at 8:05. So just bear with us here for a few minutes while we make sure we are viewing in the places that we want to be viewing at. We should be over on our YouTube page, which is Freethinkers Worldwide. That is our YouTube page. Obviously, our Freethinkers page is probably the one you're looking at on Facebook. Otherwise, you can jump on over to the Freethinkers page on Facebook. If you want to join the conversation tonight, I did not pin tonight's topic to the top of the post, but it should be the most recent thing posted to our page with instructions on how to get into the StreamYard live conversation tonight, as well as our topic. So if you give me about 2 seconds, I will confirm that we are up where we are supposed to be, which we should be because I see we've already got a couple people watching, but nonetheless, just want to make sure we are where we're supposed to be. And as usual, my Wi-Fi is absolutely trash in my kitchen. Q, do you see us on Freethinkers?
Yep.
Okay, well, then that's all I need to worry about. I have comments on Freethinkers and comments on YouTube, so there's no comments on my page that we can't see. So I'm not going to worry about this too much. All right, so welcome to the show. Today is Tuesday, November 9th already. Welcome to Freethinkers. We do this every Tuesday night. We go live about 8:05. We just have an open dialogue conversation every single Tuesday night for about an hour and a half. Sometimes we do run over. Q kicked us off last time on time, so we had permission to go over this week.
We wasn't. We was like 15 minutes over, but we was.
I know. And I didn't even notice that you had a thing going on where if we stay really late one week, you're like, no, they've got to get out on time the next week. I didn't even know that you did that till you said something. So we generally go to about 9:30. You are welcome to leave at any point. You certainly don't have to stay for the whole conversation. We know our East Coast friends and family sometimes get a little tired, so you don't have to stay for the entire conversation. But we do prefer that you join at the beginning of the conversation so that you are caught up with where we are in the event you want to engage in conversation. So every Tuesday we do this. We talk from about 8:05 to 9:30ish. Again, just open dialogue, adult language always. That's my warning in advance. Always, we do use adult language. We have different topics every single week. Tonight, we're actually going to be discussing a topic that someone sent to me. So we had a viewer suggestion. So I'm super excited to talk about that. So we have been asking you guys for your suggestions, and one popped up. So this will be exciting. We usually take anywhere 6 to 7 is kind of a full house on here. So, we definitely have some room to engage in conversation. So if you feel like getting in tonight, go to the StreamYard link, copy the browser, paste it. It'll pull you into the broadcast, or you can even click on the link and it'll pull you into the broadcast.
Don't be scared.
If you do comment, I see a comment right now, but I don't see who posted it. So you're supposed to be able to post comments where you see the video live and it transposes the comments to us. We can read them, but it's not telling me who posted this one. Shout out to whoever said I'm a G. Yes, I am. Who said that? Who is that?
I don't know.
What's it say? Oh, you don't see the name. You just see Facebook user too?
No, I see it says Fred. I don't know who Fred is, though.
Well, shit. I don't know if I do either. I don't know. Whoever thinks I'm a G, shout out. Shout out to you.
Nikki ain't no G.
Yes, she is. So if you engage with us on our YouTube page and on our Freethinkers page, then we should be able to read the comments. So you can watch live, you can get into the conversation live, or you can engage in the comments. If you do get into the conversation, it's great if you use earbuds of some sort. Keep all your background noise to a minimum, if at best. Use your video so we can see your face. And that's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much my little introduction. Thank you for the support, of course, to everybody. And always, please share, hit the share button.
Share, comment, respond.
Over and over and over. I thought about it today. I was like, we have conversations about how much time people spend binge watching like other people's Netflix shows and Hulu shows and Amazon Prime shows and FX shows and HBO shows. And granted, we are not actors by any means performing anything other than our beautiful God-given talents of conversation. But, share your friends. Support your friends. Share your friends. Support your friends, man. We like to be able to be those people one day too, who, are known for our ability to engage in conversation with anybody and everybody and bring things to the table and expose things that need exposing and engage with people who need engaging. So we give our heart and soul to this old bad boy every Tuesday night.
Get
So
in
share
on
us
this early on
yes,
ground entry level. Let me tell you something. Here's another one. This is an easy prediction.
Oh, you got another prediction? You have become the king of predictions. You know that, right?
I know, because I want to see later on down the road what actually come true. But
what a big Fred. Okay, I see you. Now I see you. Okay.
Simple is this show is going to become more and more important as society gets dumber and more conformative. You're going to find less and less platforms like this that
I agree.
Create a space where people can openly discuss. So the value is only going to increase with this show.
And I truly believe we are going to see less and less authenticity, and things like
I see
this.
it all the time in other ways.
But I definitely agree with you. Like, I feel like it's about to be on fast forward. You know what I'm saying? Like the fast forward button's finna get pushed, and we about to move real quick into this automated everything. And that's kind of one of the things I want to, somehow emerge into this conversation we're going to have about, like, is there anybody liable for what happened at Astroworld? Just this, is it a fake ass society that we live in, right? Like,
yes.
So yes, we want to be a part of the original version of dialogue and be known for, what we do here every Tuesday. So please share, please join, please support, please promote. We will have some t-shirts and hoodies printed up here, hopefully in the next couple weeks. And, we want to take the sucker over, and we obviously need your help. And so for those of y'all who are supporting us and watching us and continue to give to the page, we truly appreciate you. So thank you for that. But we're at 8:11, so I think it's safe to say we can probably get officially started with getting into our topics. So tonight we were going to talk about two different things, and of course we can go a couple different directions with these, as always. We did want to discuss Astroworld. Is there a liability on anybody's part? Thoughts, feelings, everything surrounding that. And then the viewer submitted topic I posted the picture of in the Freethinkers page, and it basically asked, why is it that women will, strongly defend gay family members, gay coworkers, gay friends, strongly defend their gay friends and family, and be ally and things of that nature, but be quick to call a man that has offended her, or she's angry with, something that has a gay slur in it. And we can, imagine how colorful those are. If you're a man, you've probably been called a gay motherfucker at some point, or a faggot ass bitch at some point. So, how is it that one could be such an ally, but then turn around and use those same things to demean, tear down, offend, try to demasculate? Like, what's the science behind this, right? So we obviously have two totally different places, worth of conversation tonight, but that's what we do. So Armand, welcome to the show. Tiara, welcome to the show. Y'all, thanks for joining in tonight. Hopefully you got to hear enough of my rambling to know what we're talking about tonight. Q, what do you want to start with first?
Start with the Travis Scott stuff.
Okay. What do you know?
I know that there was a show. I know that 8 people died. From what I
It's
heard,
9. Yeah, is it? Oh, it is 8 or 9. Okay.
you can be right. I don't know.
Right.
That's what I heard, and from what I heard, it was like one person got trampled, and several people got. I don't know if they got stuck or injected with something that, like, I don't know.
That's right. They talked about that too.
So were these people getting stuck and injected with something? Was it something that somebody was selling and people were taking it themselves, or what was going on? Like, what else is it that I need to know?
Well, I just wondered how much you followed up with at this point, right? Because I mean, there hasn't been much speculation of different stories out of anything. It's just as the days go on, it's just kind of like you see more and more accounts of people who were in the crowd or videos, pictures.
Yes, and I saw that.
nature.
I saw kind of where people. It looked like, I'm not sure, but it seemed like initially people were storming the gates. So I don't know actually who all had a ticket and who didn't. So that, to me, that could have played a part in why it was overcrowded, if that was the case, if you had people trying to storm the area. There's a lot of people looking for blame, like who's to blame. There's a lot of people who claim that negligence on somebody's part. They should have stopped the show. They should have been, I guess the powers that be were not concerned enough to attend to those who are down. So that's what I got so far. And then there's now I'm hearing a lot of conspiracy theories where people are talking about because of the type of music and the imagery that he uses and him summoning satanic spirits. Shit. This is the repercussions from that type of demonic activity. That's what I've heard from the story. So
I mean, in a nutshell, that's pretty much it. I know I certainly started the whole ordeal out with, like, that day watching the video of what looked like hundreds of kids, like, just breaking down the barricades, of course, and storming into the show. I mean, hundreds of kids, and like, who was going to stop these kids? It was just whoever got in, and you could tell people were getting trampled at the gates. Some people in Houston were like, "Oh, they should have canceled it at that point." Ain't nobody finna do that when you sold 50,000 plus tickets, and what do they say? It's a couple bad seeds, right? Well, they got in, fine, whatever, right? But like, some people said it was doomed from that point.
Though, Nikki, should you have canceled or at least postponed the event when you know that there could be several hundred, or if not several thousand, too many people who are not supposed to be there?
I mean, could that pose an issue, an added issue? Yeah, when you talk about capacity and occupancy numbers, and I can certainly see how that can pose a problem. But is it realistic for them to stop the whole show because of that?
I think it's realistic to postpone the show.
Well, one thing I'd like to
get that right, though.
One thing I would like to ask is, I heard there were 50,000 people there. Even if you postpone the show, if there are 50,000 people, how are you just going to orderly evacuate 50,000 people? Even if you postpone
it's not about. I don't think you, and that's a good assessment, Armand. But I don't think you evacuate. But I think at least if whoever the powers that be, if you know that there's more people, if they stormed in some type of way and you didn't get it under control, you should, before you have Travis Scott or any performers come out and start performing, you got to make sure that things are in place. You don't know how many people extra came in, but they in there. Are you going to get them out? No. But now, can your venue handle this extra amount of people that's in there? Or does it seem like it's crowded? Is there too many people pushing up front? Is it, is there, because now you can't, because once you start the music, now you starting organized chaos, which turns to unorganized chaos. See, it's already designed to be organized chaos with the right amount of people. Now you got too many people. Now it's unorganized chaos.
I mean, and you bring up a good point, Q, because I don't know how much South by you did once you got to Texas versus when they stopped doing South by because of Corona. But like, every South by that I've gone to, and I went damn near every year up until, really my late 20s and 30s. But like, how many times have you been to a show where the fire marshal did have to shut that shit down, or they did have to stop people from entering, or they did have to postpone a show because there were too many fucking people in a club or too many people in an event, in an establishment, So I think that is a good point. Like, perhaps something could have been done at that level when the sun is still up, because the show didn't start. I don't know when the show started. I just know he went on at like 9 something. But so would that be City of Houston? Would that be event promoters? Would that be security? Would that be fire marshal? Would that be like
the above? All of the above. Everyone that's in place, especially if there's usually fire marshals and people, and whenever there's people in that,
plenty of them too.
Right. So then you should say, no, the barriers were breached. Now we have to reassess the stability of this.
So
facility.
I'm just wondering then. So if the majority of the liability, seems to me, would fall upon like the promoters and the city of Houston and basically like the authorities to keep things as orderly as possible. So I'm just wondering, why are people suing Travis Scott?
Well, so I think we have to almost unroll the way that Q was unrolling this from the doors being broke down in the very beginning, before this thing even went on, leading up to why people think that Travis Scott should be, held liable. Because I don't think I don't think that just Travis Scott is liable for this by any stretch of the matter. But it is important to break down how many bits and pieces of liability there was in this, because some division, somebody is going to have to be responsible for this. Just period. That's all there is to it. So starting from sorry, go ahead, T.
I would say everybody, all parties involved. One, you have to start with the musician that the whole what he represents and what type of crowd he brings. He knows what energy is going to be there, right?
Yeah.
And so if you are promoting chaos and telling people to rage and break things down, and
which he does do,
that, and then he's been cited several times, and from what they say, I don't know if it's true, the officers even came to him before he went out, before he was performing, I guess, and said they were very concerned. We got to start there, and I don't think he's solely to blame. I do think that Live Nation had a duty to put on a safe festival, and that means hiring enough staff to handle 50,000 people in a pandemic where a lot of people are not doing the original jobs they were accustomed to before pandemic. You have officers not going to work. You have firefighters not going to work because they're having mandates on vaccinations. So you were short-staffed entirely. The fire department, from the police department, from the medical field was short-staffed.
Yeah.
To the event itself was short-staffed. That was a disaster right there. It shouldn't have been on. It shouldn't have went on. They didn't have enough people to control.
Like, did they even have like first aid stations set up? Like, I don't like.
I believe they did, but if you have people that bum rush the scene and your access points where you were supposed to be able to get medical vehicles and things throughout is now gone. Now, how are those people even supposed to do their job? So at one point, it was saying that police officers left because they were just like, this is out of control. I cannot police this. There's some that stayed, but they were saying that some left.
I didn't hear about that part.
Out of control. It's out of control. And so you have a duty that from the gate, like Quinn said, from the gate, if you look at amusement parks and things like that, they have like this herd type of like, you know, herd cattle through a maze type thing. They should have stopped when they let 200 people in, let them kind of get where they need to get, then you let in some more, then you let in some more. But it would have been some type of maze they would have had to go through to even get to the gate that they knocked down.
Right.
They had no organization before they got to the gate. So that's a whole can of worms that you opened from the start. It should have been shut down right then.
And it makes you wonder, like, this is not the first fucking show that's been put on. Why did they let it be this poorly put together?
And they know people are going to pass out. This is just any festival. This is not has anything to do with Travis Scott or Live Ass Nation. If you look at Michael Jackson old festival tours he went on, people were passing out, but humanity was kind enough to pick people up and crowd surf them to the sides.
Right.
You would see bodies just all of a sudden
surf, straight up to the side of the crowd.
And made
or to the stage.
These people did, or to the stage. They didn't give a damn. They didn't give a damn. And once you're down there, once you fall, you're over. It's over.
Yeah,
like how do you like the one guy said it was so black because people kept stepping on him and he was starting to suffocate.
Well, and that's what most of everybody died from is asphyxiation, from being fucking smothered to death. You know, and that was kind of like my thing here when I was thinking about this earlier, like why this bothers me so much. Ooh, hold on. Excuse me, sorry. One of the things that bothers me about this so much is I was watching, you know, because there's been so many snippets of videos that have come back and pictures and shit, you know, and I saw a collage of pictures, and there was one that somebody took a picture of the entire crowd, right? It was just a sea of people. So just what looked like thousands of people. Of course, looking at the stage, enjoying the show, you know, as you do when you go to a live concert. But like everybody had a fucking phone in their hand. It was like watching the show. So the picture was of a picture of thousands of people with their damn phone, like watching the show through their phone, or at least had their phone up at the same time. And all I could think of is like how distracting a cell phone is, right? Like how much divided attention is required to divide our attention. And like how many people's accounts of being trampled on. And it's like, did these people who were fucking stepping on other people know they were stepping on other people? Or what did they think was under their fucking feet? Like, are we that disconnected? You know, and I talked about this, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. Like, why does it have to fucking happen to us for us to care about things happening? Like, did these people know they were stepping on other humans? And I get being, you know, I have this visual, you know, of like a fucking sardine in a can full of other sardines, and how it's just like when you're in there, you're stuck. And I get it. But like, I just cannot fathom knowing that I'm stepping on something, you know, I'm stepping on people are falling and nobody stops. Like, I don't know. And maybe that's one of those you have to be there to know situations, but I'm so bothered by the fact that this took place in so many parts of this show and nobody stopped. Like nothing happened except people died.
It becomes survival point at that point where you're having to do anything to keep standing up. So you probably are stamping on people, but they're pushing you from the behind. So now you have you've got to keep your balance. And you see it at Black Fridays.
Right.
Black Friday sales, what do them people do? Rush in there and act a damn fool, trample over people. It's just the chaos. People don't give a damn.
I was gonna say, did y'all hear the story?
That's a scary situation.
Yeah, it is.
No, go ahead.
Did y'all hear the story about the woman that got raped on the SEPTA train in Philadelphia as riders?
Yeah, we talked about that a couple weeks ago.
They didn't make any calls to 911. Yep. So, I mean, if you could have a situation like that where people can literally see somebody getting raped and they just film it and nobody thinks to call for help, I mean, then this kind of situation seems kind of like sort of in line with that. Not on like, you know, that, you know, if people can literally see somebody getting raped right in front of them and just hold up their phones and film it, you know, and not do anything for help, then it makes sense that if you're in like a mosh pit situation, that, you know, you could maybe be trampling somebody and just hold up your phone and film it and not think that.
But I really think this was more of, once some people fallen and you got people pushing up behind you and in front of you, inside you, you don't have no choice but to try to keep your balance.
And you're right.
Yeah, you're probably stepping on people at this point, and you just desperately are trying not to fall your damn self.
And when there's a sea of people like that everywhere, there could be people maybe getting trampled underneath 10 feet away, and you won't be able to see that. They could be 10 feet away from you, but all you see is people, you know, face to face everywhere. You can't see underneath you except unless you're actually unless you're actually standing on somebody. So it could be somebody like literally 5 feet away, and you might not know it. All you can see is just you just feel people next to you, which I never understood what was fun. Like, I don't know what's fun about that.
Me neither. I was never front row Joe. I was never in the middle of the crowd. I'm by the exits. I know where the exits are. I'm on the outsides. Like, you know, I think the story that broke my fucking heart was the little boy who was on his dad's shoulders, you know, and of course dad's in the middle of the fucking pit and he's got his 9-year-old son on his shoulders. I'm just like, come on, like, bro, like, take
totally
your kid
irresponsible.
Take him to the show if you want to. I take my children to show, right? Take them to the fucking show if you want to, but you have to be smart. And if you think going out today in today's generational climate that we have and not putting safeguards in play for you, going out and not putting those things in play is a wise move, you're gonna get fucked up. This dad had no business taking that little boy and going to the middle of that fucking pit of people like that. And so they said the dad passed out. Like, he was so squished that he eventually passed out. Little boy obviously fell off his fucking shoulders when dad passed out. And they said that, like, every fucking organ is damaged. They said every part of him has been trampled on. And I was just like, oh my God, you know. And it's like, one story's not worse than the other. I mean, we've got, you know, 8-9 fatalities. I mean, a life is a life, but it just seems as though there had to have been multiple failures in this to allow this to happen when we have been doing outside live shows for fucking decades, you know, and obviously
that's why they do it like that, though. So that's because of the way there's been many tragedies of people getting crushed, and that's why they have those barricades 10-15 feet away from the stage. That's why they actually section off certain sections so everybody can't just keep pushing forward. They have you are assigned to this section. Once this section fills, this section is closed off, and they actually have separation between it. So the moment everybody started bum rushing and they couldn't control how it was sectioned off, they shouldn't have started the show until they got that right.
Right.
Yep.
Why do you think that they didn't? Why do you think that they? Why do you think they didn't?
Staffed, I'm telling
you. Hold on, but this negligence. That's when. And first of all, this is where I disagree with a lot of people. I don't think Travis Scott is liable for what the fire marshal, the police, the people. There are people. He is hired to perform. There are people hired for safety, precautions and measurements. And when they didn't hold it up, or when they saw that they didn't have everything under control, they should not have allowed the show to start.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. That would have at least gotten a sense of, y'all better act right or we're going to shut this whole bitch down. So give some space, move back. You know, like it would have at least set the tone for, we will shut this bitch down if y'all don't act right in this show. As
ain't
opposed
nobody
to,
coming out, ain't nobody performing until we get things sectioned off properly.
Yep. And that would have been something they could have, an easy fix, but they just could. Like I said, I don't know if they were staffed right or like Live Nation puts on hella festivals and concerts.
Right.
This ain't their first rodeo.
Exactly.
So like, what's the excuse here? And then what's the remedy going forward? Because now everybody's going to be like, oh, you want to have a festival? I can imagine it's going to be so expensive to do a festival now because the
Oh,
insurance
God.
rates to
shit.
to even put that on, the ticket's going to
Right.
have to be insane amount to just have a festival.
I mean, I was gonna say these big concerts.
But were
goers, they can
those
afford
concert
it.
goers entitled to safety and security with the purchase of their tickets? So, it falls back on who put this shit together, because if I paid X dollars for my ticket, that obviously includes security. So we're and then the whole getting jabbed thing, like people said they were getting needle pricks. Like, I mean, I wasn't there. I can't fucking say, right? But like, I don't know, was somebody, I mean, like, didn't they say that used to happen like 20 years ago, like on Halloween and shit? Like, you fucking get candy with a needle in it and blah. Like, I don't know if I believe that, as opposed to they showed a video of security who was like shoving the shit out of every 400th person that's busted down the gate.
Yeah, that was weird to me.
Yeah, wasn't doing shit.
Like, what are you trying to do? Just
random ass was shoving people, like potentially causing more injury.
He was contributing to the
to the melee.
Stampede. Like, when you knock somebody on the ground, now it's gonna be 2 or 3 people trip over them, and then you're creating a bottleneck at that gate to where you causing more people to be damaged. I mean,
I feel like the needle prick thing was like security trying to cover their ass somehow and be like, oh, somebody drugged me, or blah blah blah. But
and it was drugs involved, I believe.
Oh yeah, people said they were passing out pills in the crowd and shit. Yeah.
And,
which naturally.
Right. Why would you want to, like, in that environment, you have on drugs? Of course, you're going to be now in a tight, space. That's going to even cause more problems. So it was a clusterfuck of shit that went wrong.
Literally.
That is just like, why? I mean, I think they said Woodstock, the reunion, I think 2 people died, and I think it wasn't even related to the festival itself.
Right, it's probably drug overdose.
Yeah, right.
Or heat exhaustion or some shit.
No, but I remember back in it was either late 80s or early 90s, there was a soccer match, and it was about 70 people died. They let too many people in, and there was a bunch of people got crushed. It was like 70 people died.
Wow.
Oh no, y'all! It
really
seems like maybe y'all all participated in like event planning and shit. You get your closest partner to do the last minute run through, right? Like, I would probably get my best friend to go through and run her eyes over the checklist. Hey, make sure we have all this shit in place to make sure I'm gonna survive this shit. So maybe it was his boy or somebody that he said, hey, just make sure all this shit is in place. And they were like, oh, shit's cool. I see that happening like real casually, right? If we're just friends planning an event, hey, just go through this checklist and make sure that shit's all right. And now nobody wants to cop to not making sure that checklist was done. There has to be like a safety protocol for any.
I mean, because obviously we haven't had mass fucking trampled dead people at every show,
Right.
Then not. So obviously there was some things that did not get checked off on a list somewhere.
Right.
Let me tell you this. I'm looking at it right now. 1982. These are soccer games where people they overpacked and people died. And I'm just starting from the 80s.
There's a collapse.
1982, 340 people died due to stampede. 1985, 39 people were killed, 600 injured. 1987, 20 people killed. 1988, 93 people were killed and 100 more injured. I think that's the one I was talking about. 89, 97 people died. 1996, 83 dead, several hundreds wounded. 2001,
this is all
43.
Soccer?
Yes.
Jesus, soccer's deadly. Shit. Being a fan is risky.
Simple stuff when when you don't properly take care of those basic things. You can't let people just walk in and walk out, and it's dangerous.
It's got to be crowd control, but also it is a lack of. I think a lack of like you. What do you see with the Michael Baldwin or whatever thing, like the gun going off type of situation? There's no checks and balances.
Awareness, or you get too common and too casual. Like, you don't realize you have to stay on your P's and Q's all the time, or it can really turn bad really quick.
But are we that oblivious to?
Yes.
To giving, to putting that much of our life in somebody else's fucking hands that we don't do our own checklist of security and safety, like
all the time.
Every time we get in the car, we hope the next person ain't crazy, or we hope that they drive in their lane. But a lot of times you see it. I've been in it where literally a car cuts me off, and if I wouldn't have stopped, they would have hit me. You know what I mean? Like we can't control the next person.
And some people intentionally drive bad because they want you to hit them, so they can collect the insurance money.
But I'm saying, think about if you go to a concert like that. What's the difference between 40,000 people and 65,000 people? Like, while you're in the crowd, are you really going to be able to tell the difference? It's because regardless, it's going to be people next to you, shoulder to shoulder, front, back. It's going to be people all around you. But how would you actually know that there's too many people in here and now it's something and by the time you realize that, then what are you going to do to get yourself out of there? You stuck by then.
Because you know them people in the middle probably could not. I mean, I've been in concerts where I've been in concerts where I had to start moving the fuck around real quick early when you started seeing some shit was about to go down somewhere. But you know, some of the people were literally just stuck there because nobody was going to let them out, you know? Like, I have this visual of, like, people fucking drowning, you know? Like, there's no top, there's no bottom. It's just, there's no getting out. Like, and for me to be a music fan and a music junkie, a live show junkie as long as I have, like, this should not have happened, you know?
You know, it's a great scene on Game of Thrones when Jon Snow went up the Battle of the Bastards, and they end up coming together, both of the armies, and they were in just a sea of men and they couldn't get out, and Jon was he fell to the ground and he was just getting kind of like, they were just begging to kind of move. They couldn't even move. They couldn't even kill each other because they were stuck, like shifting. They couldn't, even come, have a fight. And I was just thinking of that visual of these kids, and I'm like, it's no way that they could have got out of that.
So okay, so then to those that are on stage, because I understand that some people feel like there's no way Travis could have seen what was happening. Like, on one hand, I want to say, well, I've never stood in front of 50,000 people at one time either. So there's a very real possibility. There's no fucking way he could have seen some pockets of things taking place. I totally acknowledge that as a reality. But then I also, have seen far other instances where it sure seems like there's no way he could have missed some of these things taking place in the crowd. So for him to have been able to possibly been on stage and seen this taking place in front of him in this sea of people, should he have stopped the show?
He did at one point.
He stopped it? Did he?
He stopped it. They wasn't showing that at first. But
I have. This is the first time I've heard them say that's been said he stopped the show at all. Okay.
Yep.
He stopped it one time and he pointed over there and he was like, get them some assistance. However, they showed that ambulance. I think that was the critical point when
with the people on top dancing,
and it was just stuck in there and amidst the crowd. Nothing was done.
So at that point, you feel like he should have stopped and be like, y'all get the fuck out the way. Let this ambulance get where it needs to go. Because obviously the ambulance certainly couldn't mow down more people. I just don't, I feel like he should have been responsible at some point in this for stopping the show. That should have been his part to contribute to this somewhere in there.
I disagree that if you think he should have did something different than what he did, I disagree.
But he didn't stop the show.
There's other rock shows that have just as large crowds where this has happened, and they stopped it. They literally stopped their show, and they said, look, we're not doing this.
Why is that for Travis Scott to stop the show? There's other people who control the sound. There's people who manage the
but he's controlling the crowd.
He's got to control the mic.
He's the one with all the power at that moment. Sure, everybody else can shut this fucking sound off, but he is the one in control of the people at that moment. And you see, they're fucking zombied into him at that moment.
Yeah, I did. But see, how do you know the difference between someone who's passed out, someone who's dehydrated, someone who needs medical attention, and somebody who's dead? Like, how can you decipher all of that while you're performing on stage?
I would just say the ambulance was a key sign for me to maybe stop for a second.
You think they don't ever see ambulance? And he actually did tell them that he did stop.
In the middle of the crowd that's stuck and is not moving.
Right. It'd be one thing
How
if
many
it was.
times do you think they see things like that though? That
But I think people usually move. I think that the crowd is more. I think that crowds of the past fucking got out of the way for an ambulance. I don't think that performers probably would have had to stop because we would move.
They're supposed to have lanes available for paramedics, police, security to move throughout the crowd. They didn't have any of that. So again, whoever's putting that on should not have allowed the show to start until they got that in place.
Seems like this whole thing was a whole system breakdown, like from like just all the way through. Like seems like everybody didn't do their 100%. Like I'm not saying Travis Scott should have personally directed like traffic at the concert and told people, but I mean at the same time, you know, the concert promoters could have come out on stage with Travis Scott. They could have told them, they could have all presented a united front. Obviously, somebody didn't do that. Now, I don't know, maybe Live Aid was willing to throw Travis Scott under the bus and just say, let him take all the liability for it so that hopefully we won't get sued for that much. You know, I mean,
everybody
now,
gonna try to pass the buck now.
You know, I mean, basically, I don't know that's exactly what happened. But I'm saying if there's a lot of money on the line, money makes people do crazy things.
Right.
Yeah, Live Nation is first, and to me, the real person that should be sued.
I think them in like the city of Houston. Yeah.
Yes.
Even so, Live Nation is supposed to have enough security, enough control.
Yeah, it was their fucking shit. It was their event. Yeah. Like.
Right.
But there's still a personal responsibility, and I think that there's like a personal responsibility when we say that Travis Scott shouldn't be held accountable for this. He did have some kind of responsibility in that process. Like I said, I would get my boy or my favorite girl to go make sure that it's safe for me to be out there. Do we have all the cops that we need? If I pass out, who's gonna save my life? It seems like there's accountability to go all the way around and not just blame, right? There's blame and then there's accountability. And I think there is accountability to go all the way around from the performer to the, what did you say, Live Nation? Fuck, to even the people who were getting trampled on. Somebody else brought something good up. We're talking about suing Travis Scott and shit, but y'all know that they're doing all that investigation at the Capitol, like, zooming in on people's faces, trying to figure out who the fuck everybody was, right? I don't see them doing that here. And it was our people, right? Trampling on one another. But we're talking about suing like the vendors, whoever it is that was planning that. But why aren't we looking to see who were the people actually trampling on the people who got killed?
So what should happen to the people who were trampling? Do you think that was something that they were trying to injure or harm the people that were under them?
No, we have the Good Samaritan law. There is a law called the Good Samaritan law. So when I talk about personal responsibility, I mean, there was momentum for thousands of people to organize around somebody who was getting trampled on, but people just stepped on them anyway.
Yeah. And I mean, and they say that's one of the reasons why you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. You know, I mean, yeah, people should, like they teach you in school, line up in a straight line and just orderly walk towards the exits, but people don't do that. Whenever people think some weird or some dangerous stuff is about to go down, it's like people just start going wild. It's like their fight or flight, their instinct kicks in. They just don't think about anybody else. It's just all about self-preservation. And maybe that's what happened here. When they found out some people were getting trampled or something, their they just went into panic mode and just started freaking out.
Of course, you go into panic mode when it's life preservation.
Well, now it's fight or flight in this motherfucker.
Yeah,
I'm trying to stay alive.
I'm saying though, if you hear, it's like that game of telephone. If you hear like, oh, I heard somebody say somebody, saw somebody fall down. Once that goes around enough and spreads through the crowd, it becomes like wildfire, and everybody just starts going crazy. You know?
Yeah, no, I think once you get to a place where you're not even in control of your emotions, and not only that, you just because you standing up don't mean you can be standing up and be squished as well.
Yep.
Like there was probably a lot of people standing up who felt that they couldn't breathe because they were being pushed too far up close.
That's
to the
what
stage.
A lot of people said. Yeah.
It's so in that case, it's like so yeah, I disagree with thought, unless someone was purposefully trying to harm another person. I don't think anybody who was there in the crowd should be held liable for what happened.
I disagree with that
legally, but I don't want to overlook the opportunity that humanity had to save people. Right? We're talking about maybe 4 or 5 people who took the time to try to reach the stage. How many more people around them could have done the same thing? Right? Like why weren't there fucking 100 people mobbing on that stage?
They were actually chanting. They were actually chanting "Stop the show" for us.
Right,
I mean, there was a group
but they could have done more. So I don't want to overlook this opportunity.
So if you could have did more, does that mean that you should be liable for what happened?
I didn't say liable. I just said, why aren't we looking at those people the way that we are at the Capitol? And I understand the difference, right? Because the Capitol, they were intentionally looking to cause harm. Right? I get that piece.
Tierra, you was about to say you disagree. Go ahead.
I disagree with you, Quentin.
Mm-hmm.
There is a few people I think are liable that was in the crowd, like the people that jumped on that ambulance. They
absolutely. Yeah.
You jumped on that ambulance.
That's interfering. Isn't that interfering with emergency duties or some shit? Like,
yep.
Just on GP alone, like for real.
With the ambulance.
These fucking idiots are like, as the ambulance is stuck in the fucking crowd, these douchebags jump on top of the ambulance and they start fucking dancing.
Oh no.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh no.
But that is a moment where I do feel like on the human level, I mean, hell, even Cat Williams, I don't know if y'all saw, I posted it, I think maybe last night. Cat Williams did a show since the Astroworld show took place, and like somebody passed out at his show. He was like, oh hell no, we finna stop this motherfucker right now. He's like, we will not go forward until we know that this person is okay or with paramedics or whatever. And it was just like, again, I've never performed for 50,000 people, so I can't speak for an experience or an energy in which I don't know, but I just cannot fathom how this human can be up there on stage and not tap into, hold up, y'all, stop the show, hold on. Like, for that, I feel like he does have some liability or some accountability to his fucking people, to his minions who are there chest to back in 50,000 numbers, worshiping the stage that he walks on. They are his minions. No, yes, they are. Look what they just did.
How do y'all know he's a puppet himself?
Right, but they're his.
He's
these people assigned to these major labels, and I guarantee you they just do the show. We worry about that. You just worry about performing.
No. Well, yeah, they pimp him out like he pimps out. Of course.
They can sue us if we don't do the amount of songs in the time that we're supposed to do.
Well, but Q, so you wouldn't say that. So I mean, wouldn't you say that? You're saying Travis Scott has no personal responsibility as a human being if he sees people are getting hurt at his shows. To just say, like, put down his mic and say, look, I'm not about to get sued by somebody's family.
He said, hold on, though. That's what I'm saying, Armand.
Well, right, but I mean, I'm saying when he kept seeing it happen, he could have said, like, okay,
and that's where I have an issue. Like this. I have an issue when people play that hindsight 2020 thing. It's easy now to say, well, you should have said this. Oh, you did. Well, you still should have said this on top of that, and you could have did more. And it's like, it's easy to say that now after everything has happened, but when you're in the moment, whether you're stuck in the crowd, whether you're on stage performing and it's just a sea of people. And I don't know how many of y'all ever been on in those crowds, but like with lights in you can't see as much as you think you see.
Right.
So what makes Cat Williams and Travis Scott different?
Cat Williams wasn't performing in front of 50,000-60,000 people. It's a difference.
Matter.
Yes, it does. It does.
Wait,
it does.
Yeah, but you're forgetting Cat Williams was still performing in front of a crowd. He was still performing in front of a situation.
All crowds are not equal. A stadium crowd in Astroworld is not the same as you being inside of a venue, which also you have the right amount of people that's supposed to be in there by the fire code.
Q, if you're a performer and somebody says, Q, we have somebody dying, are you going to stop or are you going to keep going?
He stopped.
No, I'm asking you though. If you were performing in front of a group of 50,000 people and your boy kept telling you on the side of the stage, "Oh, something's happening."
There's a lot of things that okay. I like what you said, Cynthia, because yes, you're correct. But there's a lot of things that I would do that other people wouldn't do. But that don't mean that I criticize and crucify them for not. Just like the people at the with Armand talked about the girl being raped on the train station. Now the guy might have been crazy. People could have been scared of him. Everybody got a fight or flight type of mentality. I know what I would have did, but at the same time, I don't go down somebody's throat. Oh, well, you should go to jail because you didn't say anything. And they were like, well, he could have killed me. I didn't know what happened.
Well, right, but the point in that situation was this. Those people's fight or flight response on that subway, they weren't moving in. They weren't running away. They were just standing there basically filming this woman getting raped. Right. And so that's different because they weren't even obeying their fight or flight response. They weren't getting ready to fight the guy.
No, they probably would have ran if they weren't stuck on a train. They didn't have anywhere to
they were basically making an illegal film. Because if you film somebody getting raped in real life, that's illegal.
Armand, you're not paying attention to today's society because that's what they tell you to do. See, now in the same scenario with that, the man jumping on the woman trying to rape her. I jump in, I whoop his ass, beat him halfway to death, and it's a good chance that I'll end up going to jail because of that. And everybody's not willing to put themselves on the line like that.
Well, those people with the phones could have dialed 911. They could have pressed 9 and then 1 on their phones, but they didn't do that.
And some people also feel. So what you gonna do when you dial 911? You're on a train. The police still ain't gonna be able to get to you. So some people in their mind, they be like, let me just record what's going on so that this guy can be punished criminally and we have evidence to make sure that we put this guy away. Now, that's not me.
Right.
But that's some people. So it's not for me to say they should go to jail because they should have did something different other than what they did.
I don't know, and I hear what you're saying and you're totally right. My dad always raised us to understand what guilt by association meant. And that doesn't have to mean the same thing for everybody. And that doesn't necessarily mean that guilt by association means that you go to jail or you have the consequence or there's some penalty for you. But like when you sideline watch some shit go down, your ass is you're an accessory, And Armand, I have a huge issue with the people that were on that train. We talked about this a couple weeks ago on Freethinkers, and I have a big problem with the people that were on that train. Both Ivory and I were like, we are one of those people who would have jumped in and said, fuck this. If this man pulls out a gun, if this man pulls out a knife, we finna fight it out on this train, because I could not stand by and watch something like that happen, And, with Travis Scott, I do believe that if he saw, the things that were taking place in that crowd, when he saw them, to have the power that he does have, because he had a captive audience. He had their power. He had power at that moment. I do believe that he should have stopped the show, shut it down, called attention, got his fucking people under control, and then resume back to the show. But like Tiara said in the beginning of the conversation, that's his thing. He has a history for fuck the system, rage out, fuck security, bombard the gates, which then goes back to the very first thing that Q said. So with this being his pathology as an artist, City of Houston and motherfucking Live Nation definitely should have had more security, definitely should have had more safety precautions put into play, because that already tells you you know, the kind of patron that you're going to be having coming to the show is somebody who's like, fuck this shit, break down the billboards.
Does Travis Scott have his own security guards? Does he have security guards?
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure he's got his own, yeah.
So his music says F security, but he's got security guards.
Absolutely. Well, you know, that's how that
does
works.
seem kind of hypocritical. I mean, if you
everything is hypocritical.
Like, because if you got music saying F security, why do you got security guards? Why aren't you your own security?
Because the dumbass people that go to his shows can't maintain social distancing of any human sort.
Think about this shit. Do you think it's going to continue to happen at his next concert? Do you think?
No.
Well, I'm thinking if he doesn't want to get sued, he probably
is anybody even going to book him ever again?
Yes, they will.
They will.
The insurance is not for something as the insurance is going to cost too high for a minute.
I mean,
okay, here's the thing. I gotta confess, I don't listen to Travis Scott music, so I don't know exactly what messages he puts out there. But for people that have listened to his music, I'm just wondering, like, if he does say things like F security, fight the system, I'm just wondering, like, does he have security guards? Because I'm saying if he does, if he has an entourage,
he shouldn't be liable for that either.
Right. I
love doing stuff hindsight.
I don't think it's his fault per se that people died, but I do believe that he has a hand in this. I think his hand is much smaller in comparison to the larger players in this whole system breakdown, but I do believe that he should have stopped that show. I do believe he saw some of those things in that crowd and kept fucking going. I mean, and think about it, Q. You know, you've performed on stage. You know, you've been in
what he saw on this stage.
But you know the energy that comes from being an entertainer and being able to perform and having that engagement back and forth with your
what's killing me
people.
about what y'all saying. Y'all are how you can assume how aware a person is while they're actually on stage performing, reciting lines, reciting steps, watching out for pyrotechnics when they're gonna come at a certain time, and you say that he's gonna be aware of all these other minor things that's going on.
Okay, well, Q. Like, this is what I gotta ask you though. Here's what I gotta ask you though.
Go ahead.
Like, I'm sure you've met some charismatic performers in your life. Performers that have some, I'm sure you're a charismatic performer. You know what I mean? Performers that have a lot of charisma. They just have that magnetic sway over the crowd. Like, the crowd is just wrapped at their words, hanging on every word. I mean, I'm sure you've seen, you've met performers like that in your life. Well, I mean, as you know, to paraphrase Spider-Man, with great charisma comes at least some responsibility. You know what I mean? Because when you have charisma, and the crowd is willing to follow your words like that, and they respond to your stage presence. I mean, you have a lot of like sway over the crowd. You can influence them to do things.
That's what I'm saying. He has the power.
I mean? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Travis Scott has like so much charisma that that he could just get people to do anything. But I mean, I am saying when you got that kind of charisma, I mean, number one, you got to be very conscientious about the messages that you're sending out to the crowd of people that are under your sway.
He's not sending out those messages.
Well, I mean, I don't know, Q. When you got fire up on stage and you got all these symbols, he had to have known. You know what I mean? When you got the kind of symbols that seems to encourage people to act a certain way, you got to know symbols are powerful.
He's not over that. Y'all see, and this goes to what I'm talking about.
Well, okay, before you say when you say he's not over that, you telling me he didn't have any final approval over the way his stage looked. He didn't have any final approval over the fire.
He is where he is because he allowed the machine to make him a puppet. So you do those things. If you don't do those things, then they replace you with Travis Johnson.
Well,
it's the machine that pushes
the next rumble rapper.
I understand that, but at the same time, I'm sure they asked him for some of his input. I mean, I'm sure they didn't just say, "Okay, Travis, here's what we're going to do." Here's what we're going to do. I mean, so you're saying they just built the stage, didn't even tell him what the stage was going to look like, didn't tell him what
he don't handle that stuff.
But wait a minute.
So they built the stage and they didn't even let them know what the stage was going to look like.
Go ahead,
Hold on, Amon. First, let me start. You're right. It's the puppet, and once his reign is over, someone comes and takes his place. So Post Malone is performing in Vegas in Travis Scott's place. So that's just them going to keep the show going, no matter who's going to be there.
Secondly, what is it called? Astroworld? Is that the tour?
No, it's something else. But Travis Scott was supposed to perform at this festival,
but Post Malone is going now, huh?
In his place. Now, what Armand is saying, the stage and the music and the symbolism, hella rock bands have had blood and fire, and
true.
Their fans have been crazy.
Yeah.
Like I said, we faulting Travis for the wrong thing. Live Nation and the security that they hired and everything they had organized is responsible for how that started. Okay, if they wouldn't have rushed that damn thing, those deaths wouldn't have been there, because it wouldn't have been all those people packed into that tight space. The only part I have where I say with Travis, he has control, is when he started to see like the ambulance get stuck. This is my only take where I have with Travis. He should have stopped and said, "Hey, we gotta let emergency vehicles get through." You know what I mean?
Hold on, I'm gonna take this to a musical level, and I agree with you, Tierra. And then this is it also shows the difference between MCs and people who are just rappers. MCs literally know how to control a crowd. They know when things are getting too rowdy, how to tone it down. They know when things are dead, how to spice it. They actually know how to control a crowd. And when you get these young kids who make these YouTube hits and they're liked on social media, but they don't really have state, they don't know how to control that crowd the same type of way. And it's evident.
You're absolutely right, Quentin, because MCs would know what song to play next to calm people down for a moment and bring them back up. You know what I mean? They know how to the climate, the temperature of what needs to be done at what time. Travis is just performing. He probably is not even fully aware. He probably has high himself and not even knowing what's going on around him. But then you have to have handlers in place that is going to be aware for you if you're not going to.
Right.
Yeah.
Also,
Although,
just not even talking about. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Cynthia.
Just talking about leadership. Like, I hear you say, Q, that he was a puppet. Everybody, I think, in these positions, and I could just be assuming, even at the community level or performer level, you have a following. And the definition of a leader is somebody who has a following, right? And you know that these people are counting on you, whether it be for your style, your symbolism, any message that we're sending as a conscious leader, we know is going to reach a certain group of people that are counting on us for that information. So I feel like even for a performer, for counting on other people, he did hold this power as a leader of 50,000 people. He held this power to be able to stop the room.
Huh? You can have the power to do that, but do you know how to utilize the power that you have?
Yeah.
All leaders should. If you're leading or if you're in charge, and I know I'm using the word should, but you as a leader of freethinkers, right? You and Nikki as leaders of freethinkers, y'all have 404 followers on your page. You know that any message that you send out is going to reach your 404 people on your page. This fool got on stage. He knows he has the power to reach 50,000 people right then and there.
But what if he was designed to reach 50,000 people and then it ended up being 65,000 people in there that he wasn't accounting for?
He didn't exercise his power as a leader, period.
Well, and I was going to say it's pretty interesting too.
We're calling him a leader.
Oh, sorry.
He has a following. If you just look at the definition of leader, it means you have a following.
But everybody that has a following ain't equipped to be a leader.
Correct. Correct. I agree 100%.
Yeah, I mean,
this is where the other levels of the breakdown come into play, where the other people involved that are. So do y'all think that if liability does start getting dished out, because, you know, I do think that a majority of people feel like, you know, the powers that be that put the show on Live Nation, you know, and those, you know, have to have some culpability in this. I think that more people think that they're more liable than Travis per se, say out of his own pocket, you know. Do you think that because we're talking about huge white corporation and one black artist, do you think that they're going to shift the liability onto Travis, or do you think that
it's doing right now?
Yes.
Janet Jackson.
Think
about Janet Jackson.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm thinking probably the reason why Travis is getting sued is because they know Live Aid probably has better lawyers, and they know they're more likely to get money out of Travis than they are to get money out of Live Aid. They probably think, oh, Travis didn't go to college, he didn't go to law school. We can sue him or just threaten to sue him, and we'll be more likely to get money out of him than money out of Live Aid is run by people that got MBAs and got law degrees and know how to, and those people know how to lawyer up so that we can't get any money out of them. So
you don't think that Live Nation will be held more accountable than, say, the artist? And I agree. I agree 100%. It is ultimately their fucking party. It was ultimately their fucking event. He was just hired for the event. Like, they are in control of all of that shit. But I just wondered if they were going to if they were going to start throwing Travis under the bus.
And you know why they're going after Travis? It's because he's a face.
Right.
Got a face.
Right.
It's easier to be able to place blame on an actual face.
Tier, let me go a step further than that though, Tier. And this is the power that we've given them. Because now we've and I ain't gonna even go back and say the names that I typically say, but we allow people to be convicted in the court of public opinion.
Oh, we know who you're talking about.
We allow, but when you keep allowing that to happen, then that's why those things happen. No, they're not going to go.
Well, this is your precedent. There's
no one to specifically go after, and we don't know enough about these other entities to make blame stick. But Travis Scott, his face, everybody knows him, so he's the easy target, and we can get sympathy from the masses to get on our side and force culpability from him, where we wouldn't be able to get sympathy and what's the word? You can't get the same groundswell, you can't get the same attention. Let these people go after Live Nation, or let them go after the city of Houston, or let them go after some of these other people. You can't even get a story out of that.
Nope.
NBC, ABC, they won't even show the story.
Right. Yeah,
but you keep focusing on Travis Scott. You get everybody saying, pointing the finger at him. Now you can get something to happen, and we did that because we've allowed that to happen.
But Q, I want to ask you just something as a performer. This had nothing to do with the tragedy that necessarily happened, but I want to ask you, like, do you think Travis Scott is the kind of performer with the kind of like staying power that, like, you think 10 years from now people will still be listening to Travis Scott music?
No,
or you think Travis Scott is like a flash in the pan?
I
like
think
he's famous right now
are flash in the pan, but let me say from my perspective, I don't follow a lot of them, so I'm not equipped to say, but I think but whenever you make music in general that doesn't stand out, then how do you plan to have longevity? I think I don't think there's hardly any music that really stands out nowadays.
Yeah. Because I guess I asked because, like, when you look at performers like Tupac Shakur or let's say Biggie Smalls, I mean, people are still talking about their music, even even so many decades
even
later.
If they came out and now in today's day, they still wouldn't have the same impact. Back in the day, an album could come out and people listen to it for anywhere from 8 months to a year and a half, 2 years, and you actually took in the album and you listened to it over a period of time. Now, as soon as you come out within 2 weeks, then there's 10 other albums that's out, and your music and your art gets trampled over. So I just think because of how music and now see, back in the day I had to pay for a CD. So when I pay for the CD, I've invested in it, and now I'm going to listen to it over and over. You don't even have to pay for music anymore now. You just listen to something if you're interested. And most people with even free music, we're not interested enough to click on the music and listen to it. So
we don't listen to different day. Yeah, we don't listen to albums no more. We listen to just songs. Just one song.
Yeah. Well,
playlist. people not putting money into albums like they used to. They're just putting money into a song.
I mean, we'll see. Well, you know, Tiara, it's interesting you bring that up because I remember reading like back in the days of Motown, they would release like one single by an artist first, and then if that single was good, then Motown would go ahead and produce an entire album. But literally, the quality of your music was judged on how people responded to that one song, that one single that was usually released in the era before the internet.
Yep.
True. But they would then produce an album. Nowadays, singles are the only thing they're really concerned about. They're not concerned about an album. And then the albums are not as long as they used to be. And songs are not as long as they used to be.
Yeah, these songs 2 minutes and 40 seconds. You remember the
with the intro and the outro? What the fuck? Wait a minute, we had 8-minute songs. What are you talking about?
What was the name of the crew who did the first song, the hip hop hippie to the hippie? That was like a 7-minute song. Sugar Hill Gang. That was like a 7-minute song.
Yeah. God forbid a DJ got a hold of it and mixed it. Now it's like a 20-minute banger.
Hey, did y'all already talk about
screw it? Then it's 20 minutes song. Go ahead.
Did y'all already talk about the reimbursement that he gave for the tickets?
No, but I did hear that they reimbursed for the whole weekend.
Yeah,
they refunded for the weekend.
So and also I read he's gonna pay for the funeral costs and things like that. So so I do think that's a good stand-up thing to do.
I don't know. That's kind of dangerous to do.
Yeah,
you sound like a lawyer because now you sound like you're accepting liability.
Yeah, exactly.
You basically that's what you're doing. You're accepting the liability. You're saying you're guilty for this.
Yep.
That's fucking wrong. It's like, can't I just do a good thing? Can't I just do the right thing by these people?
But
talk about getting canceled. He might get canceled for doing that shit.
They're already talking about canceling him. Q's favorite word. They're already talking about cancel Astroworld, cancel Travis Scott.
Well, exactly. So hold on.
It's already happening.
Cynthia, should Travis Scott be canceled now?
No, I wasn't saying
I don't believe that.
I'm saying that's probably what people are going to find another reason to cancel him for, is that he's admitting liability, but really he's showing humanity. Like he's
like it's the right thing to do, and he's got the ability to afford this. So, and these were your fucking people that came to show love to you. Like, it would just be the right thing to do if you can afford it, to take care of these grieving families. Like, the least you could do. But I can totally see a fucking defense attorney saying, "Do not pay for shit right now because you are accepting some culpability in doing so." And that is a fucking shame. That's such a shame. Yeah, I think the whole thing is sad. I don't think that, canceling Travis Scott is the answer in this particular case, and that's of course assuming that you believe that this wasn't a malicious thing, right? Obviously if you feel that there was some malicious intent in this or some just totally irresponsible intent in this, then you may think that he is more liable, but I think it was the handlers. I think it was
because I'm thinking I don't understand why a Travis Scott or any musician, why people would think that he would want his own fans dead. I mean, that don't make sense. How's he gonna stay rich if?
Well, those were the second day, accusations that came out. Those were day 2 and day 3 accusations that have come out. But and I don't even know if we want to get into that, as opposed to, do we want to spend the next, 15, 20 minutes talking about the second part of our topic?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I'll leave that up to you. I'll leave that up to you.
Well, I mean, I want to address it because, somebody wanted to see us talk about it. So, any other thoughts on Travis Scott? Any other things that y'all had thought about during conversation you didn't get to mention in regards to the Travis Scott issue?
Yeah, in regards to the element where people trying to infuse all that Illuminati type stuff in there.
Oh, God.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
All right.
Forget about that. All I want to say is there is energy is real. Forget about the Illuminati type of stuff. If there's certain places that you go to that have a certain atmosphere and a certain spirit to it, replace satanic. Stop getting into all that stuff. Just replace satanic with negative. Negative energy. There's certain places that you can go that have negative. If you're going somewhere, if you're going to a place or you're listening to a musician who promotes drug use, who promotes violence, I'm not saying he does, but if there is any of that there, you're putting yourself in a negative environment. In negative environments, negative things happen. Not all the time, but oftentimes they do. You have a less chance of these things happening if you keep yourself in more positive environments.
But wouldn't you say that it is also fair that, let's play devil's advocate, no pun intended, that there was a demonic intention, there was an evil spirit, there was a, nefarious energy taking place, right? Let's just say that, like, the things that people are saying now, conspiracy wise, of the 8 flames and the 8 dead people and the eye and the portal to hell, because I've read all the same shit too, and I, and my feedback on this has been, so far, I can see why people feel like some of this stuff is just an absolute fucking stretch, right? Because it does sound pretty ridiculous when you say it, but we do have to acknowledge that there is a very powerful energy, like you said, perfect word, in entertainment, in programming, in the things that we watch, and so wouldn't it be fair to say that a satanic or a demonic or a negative energy,
I think it's misleading and
is greater than just negative energy?
No, I don't think
like that's a different manifestation.
I don't think it is. No, I don't think it is.
Well, I'm thinking if you have something on your stage that's called the portal to hell, and it's called the portal to hell, that is kind of a satanic. That is kind of a satanic symbol. It's got hell right there in the name.
I'll be waiting for all the vampires to show
up.
up.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. If you have something on your stage that's called the portal to hell, I mean, it's not that far of a stretch to think,
and
okay,
it
that's
says see you on the other side.
That's some satanic energy. I mean,
did y'all go trick or treating this year? Y'all celebrate Halloween?
No, but we do every year.
No.
Yeah, we do, but I don't get into all that. We don't get into that shit, right? But like,
so hold on, the same thing still applies though. And so Halloween is one of the most dangerous nights out of the whole year.
Yeah,
it's negative energy out there. So for Nikki and anybody else, it's the energy and people who want to partake in that. There's a lot of people who want to partake in that who also partake in negative energy, and they're the ones who had the needles and all the other stuff in the candy and putting poison. It's opportunity for negative people to do negative stuff. So for someone like Nikki or whoever else, if you're partaking in those holidays, that's a heightened sense of awareness to say, yo, it's crazy people out here right now also partaking in this. I'm going to make sure that I'm extra precautious even more than I normally would.
Yep.
So those are people who checking candy. They're paying attention. They just not letting the kids go anywhere by themselves.
Yeah, and Q, I just thought of something. Like, isn't it like you were pointing out with the negative? Isn't it amazing how like the positive rappers, the conscious rappers like Common, they don't make as much money as Travis Scott.
Well, they never have. They never have.
I know what I mean. But my point is, Common could be just as. I mean, Common could be just as skilled, if not more, than Travis Scott as a rapper, as an MC. Yet because he promotes positive things in the community and not negative stuff. I mean, you go to a Common concert, you're not gonna see no portal to hell.
No. And I've been to a Common concert. There was no portal to hell back there.
That's going to open your mind and get you to start thinking for yourself.
Right.
Well,
and companies and people who control that don't want you to do that. They want to be the ones who control you. So it ain't Travis Scott who's controlling them. It's the people who are paying Travis Scott who are actually controlling the masses of people.
Well, here's the thing, Q. I'm not saying Travis Scott is controlling those people. But I am saying it's undeniable that Travis Scott must have at least some influence on these people's. I mean,
he don't.
Well, then let me ask you this, Q. Let me ask you this, Q, though, before you say anything. If he didn't, so you say no, he don't. But if he didn't, why did 50,000 people show up? Why did that many people show up?
Because it's the machine. Just like the same reason why he not doing the show right now and Post Malone doing the show.
Well, Q, let me ask you this:
if he had power, he still could be doing the show, right?
So if they got Carrot Top instead of if they got Carrot Top instead of him, do you think 50,000 people would have shown up to see Carrot Top?
I don't know, Wayne. Maybe.
That'd have been an interesting 50,000 people too, boy.
That doesn't have to do with his power. His power is that his voice can be shut down anytime that the powers that be wanted to. And this is a perfect example of his voice is now shut down.
Well, I mean,
how much power do you have once you can be shut down that easily?
Well, again, he's part of the puppeting machine. He's not the puppeteer himself, but he definitely has captive control over his audience when, you know, I
don't know why y'all keep saying it's fake control. It's not real control.
Well,
but it's real to them. It's real to those fans. It's real to those that have Travis Scott tattoos and Astroworld head tattoos. Like, it's real to them.
It's still fake though. Yeah, it's real to you, but
it's real to them.
Fake Matrix stuff.
Well,
I mean, and they, you know, and as an artist, as somebody who has infiltrated themselves into their life, they do what, I mean, it's like any other fucking cult following. You do what your fucking cult leader tells you to do.
You know? Speaking of cults, I just wanted to say, what's his name? Leonardo DiCaprio is going to be in a movie about Jim Jones, who did the Jonestown cult. Yeah, so I mean, we're talking about charisma and influence, and like, don't drink the Kool-Aid. You know, so I mean, it's a question like, is it the puppeteer? Did they drink the Kool-Aid? You know,
yes, everybody's drinking the Kool-Aid, Armand. What are y'all not understanding?
Yeah,
everybody. I'm talking to people all the time that's drinking Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I know, but you know, everybody doesn't. Everybody tells themselves, "Oh, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid." So you're saying even though we tell ourselves we're not drinking the Kool-Aid, we're really drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yes, you are. You are.
I got you. We just tell ourselves that it's water, but it's actually Kool-Aid.
You're drinking that Kool-Aid. Goodness gracious.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to know where we still. I just want to know where we all stand.
All right, let's switch gears for just a few minutes because I do want to hit this topic since somebody wanted to see us talk about this. So the second topic that we were going to talk about tonight, you know, we have a lot of LGBTQ conversations on this show, and you know, I think that everybody is pretty honest and pretty fair and pretty you know, real when it comes to, you know, their feelings and positions and supports or questions, concerns, you know, whatever. And so, I
said, except for Edward.
Who hasn't been with us for a while, but that's okay. People comes and goes. By the way, share this page. So the conversation was, you know, essentially, how can women defend their gay friends, defend their gay family members, defend gay people, defend LGBTQ rights? How can women defend that? But the minute that a man offends them, he's a gay motherfucker, a sorry gay bastard, a gay bitch, a faggot motherfucker. Like, and we know these women. We know women who talk about men like this. We know women who will dog men out like this, or who use terminology like this to degrade and demean a man or masculinity. Whether this man is gay or not, it's almost irrelevant. So the question posed was, how can women do that? How can women be such staunch supporters on one end, but then the second that a man offends them, that's the first line of defense that they go to dog this man out? What are your thoughts? Have y'all?
I got plenty of thoughts. I'm gonna let somebody else go first. Go ahead.
What do you think?
I would say this. Typically, the people that are really, really allies are not doing that. Correct. You know what I mean? Like they're playing both sides. However, there is a few that will be allies, and then they're really straight male bashers too. So they may identify as a straight, let's just say a straight woman, but she has allies in the gay community. She takes whatever pain that these people felt, and it just really deflects it onto the person that she feels that is is causing the pain in the first place. So she kind of reverses it a little bit. So it might be some psychology behind that on why they do that. But there is some women that are male bashers, and they use that as a slur to demean men and basically make them feel less of a man. Because most straight men, that's kind of their like
the worst thing you could say.
You can do. So it's like, you know, I'm gonna find the worst thing I can say about you. To bash you. Even though I'm ally of the gay community. I'm gonna point you as gay the same way you try to point out that you're heterosexual.
Would that make that woman like automatically lose her allyship card? Like, you know?
No. I think a lot
you don't think so?
You only lose it when you're talking about someone from that community.
If I don't see growth, then yeah, I'm cutting that shit off. But if I can have that kind of conversation with somebody without burning bridges, yeah, like if they're open to an exchange rather than just cutting that shit off.
Think about this. Hold on. Think about this real quick, Nikki.
Okay, let me freeze my thought.
Yeah, real quick. Boosie got dragged real bad for talking about LGBTQ, Lil Nas, Dwayne Wade's son, all that. Boosie got a bunch of shows. They all over him. Now Lil Nas, he turned around and he started trolling Boosie, talking about I'm doing a song together with Boosie and this and this and that. What happened to him? Nothing.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing I also want to point out, like Dave Chappelle pointed out in his special, I mean, the baby shot and killed somebody in a Walmart, and that didn't do anything to hurt his career. No, he didn't lose any concerts or nothing. He says something that, you know, offended somebody from that community on his concert, and all of a sudden he's getting shows canceled and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can't do that.
So,
and also about the cutting somebody off. I'll be honest with y'all. My son came out to me as he's 20 now. He came out to me when he was 16 as bisexual. But I'll tell you that had to be 4 or 5 years ago now. And I'll be fucking honest with y'all. The last time I used the word faggot was less than 4 years ago. And when I said it, it took one of my friends, just one of them, to look at me and say, hey, why did you just say that? Would you use that in front of Jonathan, my son? And I was like, oh shit. So there's a conditioning with just using that word. In my family, the word faggot and gay was thrown around like a normal word. And it just took one person to call me out on that shit. I don't know why it took me so long. Yo, I'm almost 40. Yeah. And I was still using that. I used it as a quick response. Like it was a reaction to something dumb he said. And I was like, whatever, faggot. And he really stopped and looked at me and was like, hey, why would you use that word? Why? And he really wanted to talk to me. He didn't burn the bridge, right? He was like, hey, why did you just use that word? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, no, I want you to think about it. Why did you use that word? Why was that your first choice? And I was like, you motherfucker, you got me. So
I appreciate your honesty in saying that. You know, I appreciate you for being honest and saying that, because to me, that's just always been one of those words you just don't say that word, right? But like you said, if it's just one of those words that was thrown around, I liken it to, and it's not the same, but I liken it to the similar situation of like, would I just go out and be like, hey, N-word left and right? You know, would I use the N-word to be derogatory towards, you know, a black man or a black woman? Like that would not be the word I would choose to demean them.
I got a question on that. There's this is just my question. I don't know. Like, why do people, especially from that community, have to personalize everything and make it about them? Like, for instance, the N-word can be used in many forms. It's not using the N-word is not always derogatory, depending on who says it, where
but we know the power behind the word.
Hold on. The B word is not always derogatory, depending on who it come from and what setting, under what circumstance. So how come if you say something, then someone jumps in even when you weren't talking to them, and then it becomes offensive to them automatically? I don't know. I'm just asking.
You know, I'm thinking sometimes. Well, some people, and this is just my opinion. I think some people personalize it. Some people have the motive of personalizing stuff to just shut down all the discourse. They want to shut down the discussion, and one of the quickest ways, if they don't like a discussion, or if some people don't like a discussion, one of the quickest ways to do that is to basically try to pull the victim card, to say that if you say something I don't like, or if you try to initiate a conversation as a starter that I don't like, I can just say that you're discriminating against me by using a certain word, and then that I'm able to shut down the whole conversation. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying all people. I mean, some people are very, they're very sensitive, and some people do get offended by the words, but some other people, they pretend to be sensitive to try to shut down the conversation because they don't want conversation to happen at all.
I'm wondering if it's genuine because someone else from that community can say it and then it's not.
Yeah.
Look, that again goes to personal responsibility and this collective humanity that we have to help those in need. And I don't know if it's about making it personal, but I'm going to stop some hateful shit when I see it happening. And if
but that's what I'm saying. Under the context, how do we define if it's hateful or not? If I directly address someone from that community,
hurt in that space, if somebody is offended, there is hurt happening. Period.
But, okay, let me go back though, and you can be right. I'm just finishing.
Well, see, but
should we even joke about these things? Should these be words that we use in our joking vocabulary? You know,
but I also understand that if you start saying if anybody's hurt in that space, like look at the Dave Chappelle special. Like I watched the Dave Chappelle special, and I didn't see, as far as I could tell, I didn't see him say anything that I didn't see him say anything that I could identify as hurtful. And I mean, and if you watch it, you hear him say a lot of stuff that could be interpreted as hurtful. Like when he makes jokes about the Jews and jokes about Chinese people, and yet, you know, they're trying to say that, well, I was offended by what Dave said, so we should just shut him down. He created a hurtful space, so he should just be completely canceled. You know, but it's like, so
but
what
he
I'm saying
wasn't saying things with intention to be hurtful.
Right,
he
but
wasn't saying those things with intention.
They're saying the intent doesn't matter. All that matters is the effect. That they say, if I felt hurt, it doesn't matter if Dave intended to hurt me
and
or not.
The things that he said, he didn't lie about. He wasn't untrue about. People just didn't like what he said because they didn't like what he said.
Yeah,
shouldn't a dart be thrown your way and actually hit you for you to be hurt by it?
No.
What I'm saying is a lot of these darts are not even thrown in your direction. So how are you hurt by the dart that wasn't even meant for you?
All right, so you bring up a good point.
If I use the N-word for somebody else,
you know, break my bones.
It wasn't directed towards you, and it wasn't even in a negative fashion. How did you get hurt by that dart when I was throwing that dart?
That challenged me. When I watched the Dave Chappelle thing, first of all, I thought it was fucking badass because he is strategic. However, when I left that, I did assess, like I did this whole self-assessment and shit. Like, okay, that didn't offend me, but he wasn't talking about Mexicans. He didn't talk about the border. Like I wasn't, my population wasn't a target for him. So I did take that into consideration, and I did laugh at some of the shit in there, but I also questioned how it felt to laugh. And if I was in a room full of people, how uncomfortable it would be to laugh at some of that shit too.
Comedy is uncomfortable. What the hell? Comedy is uncomfortable.
Right? And that's my thing. I feel like it's the intention of trying to be disrespectful, the intention of trying to be demeaning, the intention of trying to be to cut a motherfucker down and use certain words, like and I'm very, very crafty with my words. I may not be the smartest person in the motherfucking room, but I'm very, very crafty with my words.
Hold on, Nikki.
Yes, I am. I am very intentional. I am very intentional.
Hold on, Armand. Hold on a second. Nikki, how many times have you been suspended now?
Because I'm intentional with my goddamn words. Shit. That's why they suspend me.
Intended to get to
no, but I'm not going to not tell the truth. I'm not going to not share the truth. And I'm not going to not be the motherfucking truth. So I'm very intentional with my words. And maybe it's just because I I was raised in a place where there was a lot of verbal altercation and, and just different type of abusive kind of exposure. But like cutting somebody down or like finding the weak spot in somebody and like fucking like exposing that or like even when I would get into like vicious fights with my ex, I would never call him a bitch or I would never call him, things that I know were words that are used to hurt, like hurt people. And if we don't break that fucking cycle, we're never going to get out of this. And so choosing words intentionally are important. So that's my thing, like watching the comedy episodes and shit like that. Like, and like you said, Cynthia, like maybe because my population is not under attack, like maybe I'm not affected the same way, but I don't even think that that's necessarily the case when it comes to comedy. In this particular quote, it was the issue of a woman choosing faggot, gay, dick in a booty ass, whatever type of derogatory. Like, why would those be derogatory? If a man likes to have sex with a man, like if we don't care, then we don't care. But to choose those things to try to chop down his manhood somehow in there becomes then for me, do you lose your fucking allyship card? Are you really a fucking ally? Like, why would that be your first to go when there's a million other ways that you can break a man down? But to just go to the gay card is like that's a weird thing to me.
It is
well,
weird.
I think also like I mean, I was just gonna say, I think also that like for example, when I was watching the comedy special, like I mean, so yeah, it's true he was like, but honestly, I don't think he was targeting a particular. I mean, I think he was just telling the truth.
Hold on a second.
What you thinking, Q? Because you breathing up there.
Yeah, the fact that I'm. Let me say this. I didn't reach my limit now. The fact that we have to keep defending a comedy session. Comedy has its own place.
Right.
Everything that we talk about, as far as fair, not fair, this comedy has its own lane. You should not be able to attack comedy in the way that you attack regular society. That's always been the case.
Right.
And the fact now that people's jokes are now cancel worthy, that in itself is crazy. And that goes back to how brainwashed we are and nobody knows it. We're having these conversations about a comedy show. That's how brainwashed we are.
I mean, where are the rules to providing a comedy show?
There are no rules in comedy.
Show me the history where
a
comedian was put under scrutiny for the jokes that he told.
The
only time it ever became an issue is when you said something when a comedian stepped outside of the realm, like when there was the one Seinfeld guy started calling everybody the N-word. He wasn't even making jokes no more. He's just having a mental breakdown.
See, but Q, actually there was a comedian. His name was Lenny Bruce. He got arrested for obscenity laws because he used the word cock I think he used the word faggot. He used it in
he used everything. Lenny Bruce used all the words.
He got arrested for violating obscenity laws.
Wow, that I didn't know. And I wonder who fucking pushed that. I wonder who put that, action into action. It wasn't nobody at his show. That's for damn sure.
Who knew they was coming, he was coming into their town. And then they already knew the laws that were in place because they knew his show. They were like, all right, well, when he comes, we're gonna be able to get him on this because he can't say this same joke in this city or in this state.
But I mean, but I was gonna say, in my opinion, like I don't think we should be canceling like comedians, even the ones that say hurtful stuff, because if you do, you might as well get rid of all stand-up comedy.
Censorship.
You might as well just close.
We're signing off on censorship and we don't know it. We're shutting down censorship and we don't even know it. That's the part of the brainwash. Now, let me get back to what you were saying initially, the thrust of what you're talking about, Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of Tier kind of said the same thing. They want to hit you where it hurts. And usually it's something from a relational standpoint to where a relationship got broken off or somebody liked somebody and had feelings and it didn't work out the way, and then they throw the F word around, they throw the B around, they try to demasculate you in real hopes that they're really trying to cancel you in a small term. They're trying to cancel your ability to get future ass. That's really what they're trying to do. So if you throw it around like, oh, he gay, he this and this and that, then they know other women are going to stay away from you. All they got to do is throw the right rumor out there. If they get the rumor,
and that's all it takes.
If the rumor sticks, then people ain't coming your way. And when people ain't coming your way, now they got what they wanted. Well, if I can't have you, then can't nobody have you. Nah, now I didn't mess up your ability for anybody.
That is such a tragic.
I haven't used those words as an insult in years. Like I can honestly say like 4 or 5 years, and I'm still. And when you talk about personal, like we take it personal, I'll even be talking shit to my friends on Facebook. Q, like I had a friend. Quick example is one of my friends was talking shit to another guy friend, and his post said something like, we're out here at work and my fucking friend ran back to his truck for an umbrella. What a faggot. He's so fucking gay.
Oh, damn.
And I was like, And I took the personal responsibility to not make it about me, but just say, hey, why is being gay or an insult to you? Is it a Mexican thing? Is that something in our families? Like, I don't know. I don't know where it's coming from, but I sure do ask. Because I haven't used that word. And whether it's hurtful or not, it's hurtful to my kid, even though he says, it doesn't bother me. I don't want
and that's something you do have to be careful of, because at a certain point in time, there's certain words that we said for so long and we forgot the context of. See, now we just say, oh, well, I'm just talking to my homeboy. Yeah, I call him this and this and this and that. But originally, it was a way to low-key demasculate someone. So it's still, even though you don't look at it that way, it's still derogatory. So you have to think about certain things that you say in a derogatory fashion. So yeah, that's something you do.
It's just choosing hurtful words, and it just seems to be such a hypocrisy, and I have a huge issue with people saying one thing and talking out the side of their neck. So when it was posed, I was like, ooh, this is a good one, because I've seen those women, and maybe I'm just, I don't even want to say sensitive to it.
Check them, Nikki. Who say what? Who checks them?
Well, so that's where Cynthia comes in and tells her friends, why are you saying this?
Right.
No.
That's
Nikki,
a personal responsibility.
Somebody steps in and says, so if you say the F word, if you call somebody some anti-LGBTQ, yes, somebody steps in and says something. But who steps in and says something when you're improperly trying to label a man?
What do you mean?
Who steps in and say,
hey, like at that moment type shit? Right.
Yes.
Well, so this is where your piss poor character, in my opinion, comes out. This is where, the actual real essence of who you really are versus who you want people to think that you are. This is who you really are, because the person I thought you were wouldn't use that as a go-to for cutting this man down. But the fact that was your first fucking go-to, you not as about this LGBTQ allyship or equal rights as you claim to be, and so then it just brings into
they really on the bandwagon.
Well, so but how much of our social culture, our world today is right now revolving around LGBTQ issues? So to be that woman who uses it when it's beneficial to her, but we'll be over here at a fucking pride parade, bitch, you're not supporting these rights if you cutting the next man down, calling him gay.
People are championing it because it's popular right now.
Right.
But someone like myself wouldn't be considered as much of an ally, even though I'm probably more of an ally than the average person, because I don't jump on the bandwagon just for the sake of doing it. I'm actually looking for equality for everybody.
Right.
Which is what you really want versus just trying to find a good guy and a bad guy and making things right or wrong.
On that note of equality, though, how do you address the inequalities when they're happening? And in this conversation, you don't seem to be up for the personal responsibility. So how do we create a movement that stops bad behavior or stops hate from happening?
So hold on, now let's dig into this. So when you say that, Cynthia, in what way was I not?
You seem to question a lot about personal responsibility, and I think of personal responsibility in the context of this conversation, because when I hear somebody saying something that shit just don't sit right, I take it as my personal responsibility to then address it at that moment.
All right. So now,
that's we're talking about disrupting, not interrupting, not just stopping something for a moment, but disrupting something. stopping that shit from happening around me. So when I come into a room, I don't care how the fuck y'all talk, but when I come into a room, y'all aren't going to use the word faggot. You're not going to use these insults because I don't allow it to happen around me. And if I see it there, then I leave.
Well, and ultimately that's the only thing you can control, because we can't control how other people speak around us, no matter how much we want to maybe try to, you know, not allow those things to happen. We can hardly control ourselves, let alone another human being. So in those situations, we do have the option of either one saying something or two leaving. But that really probably is the only fucking recourse we have. Because
but it works sometimes. One of those options works.
Right.
Let me respond to that though. So even in a scenario that you mentioned, you haven't heard me ever speak about anybody in a derogatory fashion or call them names or you've not seen me allow someone else to demean another person. I know this because I don't like bullies and I don't allow that type of stuff. So just because I propose questions and I say, why would a person be offended when somebody's not even throwing a dart at them? That's me observing and asking a question, but that don't mean that I'm not an ally.
Correct.
But it can be perceived just because I don't jump on the bandwagon the same way that other people do. Then I'll be looked at the same way that you mentioned.
Guilty by association. Correct.
But that's what I'm saying. People, they're so busy to try to say, are you for or are you against? Good guy, bad guy, black, white, everything. And all I'm saying is, I just want to be fair all the way down the middle. But if people don't know how to equate or really like understand what's real from what's fake, then you automatically see one thing a certain way.
Correct.
It's the same. I'll give you a simple example. The most simple thing, if and y'all probably don't watch too much. If you ever watch Minister Louis Farrakhan, they call this man everything under the book. They can call him the devil, the Antichrist. They call him an anti-Semite. They call him all these things in the world. I challenge you. You can listen over each decade. Listen to one of his sermons. Listen to 5 of his sermons.
I listen to many. I like Farrakhan.
You're talking to the wrong people.
Come back and show me where he's talking hateful speech toward other people. Show me where he's talking about killing another race the same way that they talk about killing us.
Right.
All the same stuff that they say about us, they accuse him of being that person. Just show me where it's at. But my whole point is, you can find, just because people don't speak in the way that you prefer them to speak, it's easy to turn around and label somebody something else.
Right. And then there's there's the distinguishment between words and action. I'm cool with somebody not talking the way that I talk. But if I find that somebody's in need and I'm with 50 people who ain't helping, then yeah, we got a fucking problem. And I think there's a difference in the words and then the action. And I'm cool,
and that's just where your personal principle comes into play, I think, more so than your personal responsibility. Like, you may feel responsible to that situation, but you know, if I ain't learned nothing, we damn sure should not expect us from other people, right? But you know, I just I don't know. I just felt like it was an angry feeling that I got when I read this question.
I'm
because
old school too, though.
I know those women, like I know those people. What do you mean you're old school? What do you mean by that?
So if there's a group or a circle of people talking about something, and they say something I don't like, I don't jump in their circle and talk about how offended I am. I'm like, motherfucker, ain't nobody talking to you. Why are you in our circle?
Correct.
Right.
You're a great social scientist.
Get out my circle. We not talking to you.
Correct.
And that's what I see happening nowadays in this social media realm. People are jumping into circles that's not even their circle to display their outrage. In the context of what was said and how it was said wasn't even geared towards you. You inserted yourself into something to be disgusted or, you know, abhorred or whatever you want to call it. And it's like it wasn't for you. Why do you keep purposefully jumping into circles that you're not a part of and that you wasn't even invited to?
Right. And I think that's where people fuck up. Like, we've been conditioned to shame our own people. And when we talk about burning bridges or this continuation of being able to exchange dialogue, I think that's where a lot of our people miss.
There's
like,
a
we want to
desire and a
shame
hunger
people.
to find conflict. People are
Right.
looking for conflict. So when they
But
can't find conflict within their own circle, then they jump in somebody else's circle in order to spark up more conflict. That's what gets on my nerve. That is my biggest pet peeve right now.
Yeah. And I can see how the machine that is social media has definitely allowed that type of behavior to become the norm, because people are always jumping in to the next fucking thing and jumping into somebody else's conversation, you know, and interesting
And the
parallel.
reason we have more of this constant clashing is because of that very thing. These same conversations always happened, but people stayed in their circles.
Right.
I don't know, y'all. Can I give you another quick example, Q and Nikki and T,
Absolutely.
about why I'm so into this? Like, we got to help people in need. And I see that as a personal responsibility sometimes, because I had, this happened about 4 or 5 years ago. Chilling at my aunt's house. She lives next door to me. There's at least 15 to 16 of my family members, including my 2 grown-ass kids, my 70-year-old uncle, 50-year-old aunts, many cousins. And I brought my date inside, and my date was biracial, but looked predominantly Black.
Oh, I think I remember you talking about this.
We're sitting around in the fucking living room chilling. Everybody's chilling, and something in the news comes on, and one of my uncles starts using derogatory names for Black people, and I didn't catch it. So my friend got up and walked out, stormed out of my tia's house, told me how unsafe he was. When I apologized, he would not accept my apology, because he said if I didn't hear what was happening and intervene, that I was a part of the problem. So I went back into the house and got on my uncle's ass. And my uncle tried so hard to apologize to me, and I had to stop him and tell him that his apologies and his words go to the Black man that's outside in the middle of the street, pissed. Nobody in that fucking room of mine, 16 of my fucking family members, and nobody said anything. And if anybody in my family can't say anything in private, how the fuck are they going to say anything in public? So when I talk about coming in and helping people that are in need, I think that's what I think of is, okay, if I know I have a friend who's obviously gay, and I know there's something wrong with saying that too, how do I keep it from happening within my circle, or how do I ignore it or avoid it? Like, I'm not the kind of person that jumps into
you can't always do that. Now, there's a couple things you control. You can speak against your circle when they say derogatory things. You cannot invite. I mean, were you not aware that you have family members who talk that way?
You know, I didn't expect them. No, I was not aware. No.
Really? Wow.
He was using old ass words like llanta. Llanta is some shit that I used to hear, or that used to be used in the 70s and 60s. I didn't know we were still using those words in my family.
Well, let me take it a half step deeper. How does your family? And I know, because I used to date Hispanic women as well. What was your take on how your family felt about dating outside of your race? Because I know that's a big thing for a lot of Hispanic people.
I've only seen, aside from myself, one other of my cousins date outside of our race.
Well, I'm saying, dude, have you ever heard cousins, uncles? Oh, don't bring the around here. We don't.
Well, we're gonna go there. I'll tell y'all straight up. My dad pulled me out of my house when I was 11 or 12 years old. I used to love the fucking NBA. Man, I love Reggie Miller. I love Michael Jordan, like mid-90s. My fucking dad called me out onto the porch, showed me a fucking book about STDs, and then lectured me about how Black people brought STDs, and then told me that I should never bring. There are enough Mexicans in this world for me to bring one home to marry. I was fucking 11, y'all. 11. And I didn't know what the fuck that meant until here in my 30s and shit and 40s.
Right. And you may not be, you can, it's so much you can be culpable for at that young of an age. But what I'm saying is sometimes your family can give you, they can let you know what their energy is toward you bringing someone in. And maybe this is just a hindsight statement. My family is not mature enough at this point for me to bring you into my household like that. I'm not going to put you in, and that now you see why he felt like he was put in harm's way. It's like you got to know when your family is okay or not okay with something. Why would you bring me here if they weren't okay with that?
And he held me to that.
I think the most realization in that, Cynthia, is what he said, and I'm sure he did not mean this in a way in which like you have to own 100% of all fucked up things, but like the fact that in his mind he felt as though that scenario and you not hearing what was said is a part of the problem. I think that is the reality. I think that that's probably what fucking sits with you the most, is that how the fuck did I make it to my 30s not knowing that some of my shit that I was raised with by omission, and we know the black brown pride, the divide between black and brown has always been, black pride and brown pride, and them motherfuckers don't bleed. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we know that that's there, and I think that the whole Trump fucking experience certainly highlighted where there were racism in brown people, in non-black people, and not just white people. We already know we got that motherfucking end of the stick, beat. But the complicit shit on black people, and black people know this because they're the ones that's been getting shit on by everybody, and I think that might be, and I don't even know, obviously, if you've already had this, thought in your head, that's probably what sticks with you the most, is that I know that you don't want to be a part of that fucking problem. You don't want to be somebody who contributes to that, because my heart doesn't have that intention, but holy fuck, this is what's happening. Like, whoa, I need to like
desire not to
check that.
To want to be a part of that,
right,
caused you to actually be blind to,
right. And so that's what we sacrifice, right? When we choose when we choose to disengage. And I read I'll have to share this shit with y'all. There's something called political intelligence. And political intelligence is like the power to negotiate. And when we don't engage in conversations like this, or we don't like afford each other opportunities to exchange this dialogue, we as people sacrifice that skill, right? Because I'm still learning about this, but back in the gap, y'all, we had the word of mouth. Right? People just trusted our word because we didn't have no fucking money. So I think a lot about that, and I don't know, I lost my train of thought. But thinking about supporting one another, that's where that comes from in me, y'all. I don't want to get involved in everybody else's fucking drama queue. Like, I don't go around looking for conflict, but I don't steer away from it either.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
thing can be said.
I guess even what I'm saying about maybe myself is, and I'm using myself as example to a lot of people, I think sometimes you have to redefine what is, and this goes back to what Nikki was saying about the original topic. Sometimes you have to redefine what is an ally. Sometimes people who you think are allies are not actually allies. And what's the funniest thing to me, if we keep talking about Dave Chappelle, he's an ally. He's and it's like, why are y'all trying to down and cancel and crucify someone who's actually an ally for you? That's the weird part. But it's when you don't know how to properly identify what is an ally, then you miss it.
Well, you know what that literally just made me think of, Q? What your whole statement just made me think of was how the trans woman went and like spearheaded this whole cancel Dave Chappelle thing. But of course, like her tweets came out, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, how her tweets came out and how vile she was to Asians and foreigners, and just like, how can you even, like, you are a trans woman, how can you even talk out the side of your mouth like this?
Nikki, so that's my point, Nikki.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of been roundabout saying this for the last maybe couple months. I'm getting off. That's what I'm saying. I'm getting off of these agenda-based trains because these agenda-based missions, they're very misleading. It's not actually most of these agendas, they're not actually in favor of what's best for all of humanity. They're only looking for their agenda, and they don't care if they'll issue on anybody around. It don't matter as long as they're pushing their agenda. But that's not what makes this world a better place.
Right.
So the way I view someone is not what they say about, well, if they say that I care less if you say you're a Christian. That don't mean nothing to me. Absolutely nothing to me.
Right.
What are you doing to help the person to your right and to your left?
Right.
What are you doing to make your community, make your people, make your children a safer environment? Outside of what you just call yourself, that don't mean nothing to me.
Right.
And that's when I hope people get to the place to where they use a different lens to identify who's an ally versus who's not. There's a parable in the Bible talks about this, and give me 18 seconds. It was a parable of a Samaritan. It was a man that got mugged and beaten on the side of a road and left there to die. It was a priest came by. He seen him over there. He looked like, ugh, kept on walking. And it was another Levite, someone who followed the law or something like that. And he saw him over there, looked like he was halfway dead. He kept walking. It was a Samaritan, which biblically Samaritans did not deal with Jews or people of the faith. They were on total opposites. He saw the man, picked him up, cleaned him up, took him to an inn, paid for him to get fed and to get well, told the hotel person, look, whatever the bill is, I come back and pay it. So the parable was, because the question that they asked to Jesus, who is my brother? And he was like, then he gave that story. He said, who's the one who you think is their brother? And the Samaritans, like I said, had nothing to do with Jews back in that day. And he was like, well, the one who showed kindness and favor to him will be his brother. He's like, well, there you go. Don't go off of titles and labels, and just because somebody called themselves a priest, and just because somebody's supposed to be blood related or supposed to be your kinsman, who's the one whoever treats you right, that's your brother. That's the parable out of that. So that's for those reasons I don't go off of somebody, oh yeah, I'm black like you, I'm a Christian like you, I'm a whatever. No, you ain't. How you treat people, that's it. I don't care what you call yourself. How do you treat people? Well,
and I remember reading a quote years ago that said something to the effect that if you're an ally, you don't tell people you're an ally. You just are. Like, so when I see people walk around, oh, I'm an ally, you don't need to tell anybody that. If that's what you are, your actions will show that that's what you are. So like, I have never called myself an ally. Like I don't know how somebody feels about me, and I mean, there's only so much I'm going to care because I know what my heart is. I know what my works are. I know where I'm effective at. I know the fights that I get into and the backs that I have and the places in which I speak. In rooms in which maybe my voice is the only one that would have been heard, and I don't have a problem with burning bridges and upsetting people and, ruffling feathers when it comes to, what being an ally consists of. And those are certainly not just those things or exclusive to, but you don't run around telling people, oh, this is what I am, this is what I am, this is what I am. So who you say you are is irrelevant. What you do is what's most relevant. I agree. Well, any other thoughts? I know we're at 2 hours and 2 minutes.
I'm about to drive to fucking Georgetown to pick up a mom from work because her car broke down. So
bless you.
I was trying everything to do to stay up tonight.
Oh my gosh. She's like, I gotta stay awake. Well, we'll go and we'll keep you up. Tara, you still there? Did we lose your tea?
She over there cooking up that dope.
Probably cooking up them candles, buying up some candles, and she says she got a whole bunch of products she got to pour.
Cooking up that dope.
Mm-hmm. All right, yeah. I'll see y'all later. Peace.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next Tuesday. Shoot us some topic ideas, things you want us to talk about. Of course, we'll follow the page. Our YouTube page is Freethinkers Worldwide. Please subscribe to the page. We will follow back. Always reciprocate love. Facebook page, of course, Free Thinkers. Tuesday nights, 8:05. We'll see y'all next week.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks for the support.